The 4 objects in this film were created over 10 weeks by members of 2 community groups in the northeast of England, Beamish Museum's men's group and Kids Kabin in Cowgate. At the end of the project, each object was given as a gift to the other group. Alan, William, Ray and Brian designed and built flexi games so that the kids in Cowgate could use their imagination to build their own activities by combining a simple kit of wooden parts. We watched a video of Kids Kabin in Cowgate where some of the kids told us about the things they like to do and the things they thought would be nice to have. The men's group started chatting about their own childhoods and the games they liked to play as young lads. The men's group made plans for an adaptable system that could be built into any number of games and named it Flexi Games. This would fit in the space in Cowgate while aligning with Kids Kabin's focus on creativity and building things instead of making something for them with only one function. Each week the group developed prototypes. We were thinking with our hands as we came up against technical challenges to make sure that everything would work as planned. The men's group also did work at home in between sessions, bringing in prototypes they'd made to solve problems along the way. William, Brian and Alan spent a lot of time in the shed building prototypes to work out how the pieces would join together and how they could be stable and safe. The group developed the idea of giant nuts and bolts to hold the pieces together with big handles for easy use. After stress testing a few materials, we decided to make them out of oak in a few designs. Most of these were made by hand, but William also turned some for us on his lathe at home. After a few iterations, the group designed a folding base, which could be easily stored in Cowgate. Brian refined the design, making sure it was stable enough before we started building the final pieces. And there was a really satisfying moment when he got the post to stand up straight after working for the whole session on an updated design. The group wanted to make sure that everything was made as beautifully as possible, so decided, with Jill's expert guidance, to engrave the oak handles. Brian thought we should decorate the handles with forget-me-nots, the symbol of dementia friends. This gave us a lovely opportunity for a bit more of the men's group's personality and experience to show through in the final piece. While we used Northumbria University's workshops, with the help of our technician Johnny, to do some work we couldn't do at Beamish, the men's group assembled and hand-finished every single piece around the table at home farm. Alan and William had to fit 100 plastic inserts into the holes for nuts and bolts, while Brian and Jill spent a lot of time carving. Everyone pulled together to get a huge amount of work done, getting each component beautifully built and finished in time for Kids Kabin's visit to Orchard Cottage.
I think they were a bit nervous in a way. They kept saying, "Oh, I hope they like it." I think they were a bit like, because some of them they've all got grandchildren of a similar age, so they know what teenagers or 8, 9, 10-year-olds can be like, and I think they were a bit nervous that they might be a bit blunt, like, "This is rubbish." I think they were like nervous, but then really pleasantly surprised, and just really emphasised the pride as well, that they've made something that all these kids genuinely seem to enjoy.
Wood is good.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it definitely fits with the way Kids Kabin does stuff. Mm-hmm. Everything moves and fits together and folds, and it's just nice. It's nice. It's got a nice design aesthetic. Nice. I think I'd like to say.
I like that. Yeah.
Fred, Les and Joe created a tool cabinet for Kids Kabin, built to slot into their existing workbench and featuring an iconic sliding door. Just like the men's group, Kids Kabin are keen woodworkers. The afternoon group chose to build a place for the kids to store and show off their tools, making them easily accessible for working in Cowgate, as well as when Kids Kabin go out into the community to do street workshops. Kids Kabin asked us to make sure the piece fitted onto their existing workbench, which gave the group a great place to start. In our first workshop, Les suggested we add a sliding door, like a garage, to the tool cabinet. The group all worked together to overcome this technical challenge through a few prototypes, starting out using some cardboard and a broom handle in the shed. We found some useful references for the mechanism around Beamish, including the curtain pole in Orchard Cottage. We decided the proportions of our design by building a scale model, which included a tiny tambour door of its own. Once we were happy with the plan, the group built a one-to-one prototype from scrap material so that we could take it to Cowgate to get feedback from Kids Kabin and check everything fit together as planned. As soon as Les peeled the first working tambour door off the dining table at Orchard Cottage, we knew we'd struck gold. The following week, we were able to get the door fitted for the first time after a few tries. Les was smiling from ear to ear seeing his invention realised and hearing the satisfying noise as it clunked around the track that we'd built together. Again, the group wanted to make sure every detail was perfect and personalised, so they decided to hand carve oak handles for the cabinet. Les, Fred and Joe Each carved a handle for the piece with the names of the groups taking part. As a retired teacher, Joe suggested the addition of a blackboard for the back of the cabinet, which he and Fred put together. We assembled the final cabinet on the table in the farm, adding finishing touches like oak plugs to match the handles. In homage to Kids Kabin's graffitied workbench, the group even left their mark behind the blackboard to be uncovered one day in Cowgate. When we all met up to exchange gifts at Beamish, the beauty of the tambour door cabinet was obvious, and it works perfectly in Cowgate. Kids Kabin have already started filling it up with their tools, but they haven't graffitied it yet.
Well, you want to just open it, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what you want to do with it. You want to just play with it.
Play with it and make stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And make stuff to go inside it as well.
Yeah.
And it's also triggered some new ideas. The relationship between the kids and the Beamish guys, it should be through what they're doing and making, the objects and how they're used in the future, which is much more meaningful, really, for everybody, I would have thought.
It's really nice, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's great. It's exactly what we need, exactly what we have needed, and it's a very cool piece of art or craft, which the kids have been quite fascinated by.
And what a great team to solve that problem. I loved the way the whole group worked together on that. I think it was something quite new for Les, but he really, really enjoyed it. I don't think it's something that he's never wanted to do. He's just maybe not had the opportunity. I think being able to make something for somebody else and to get that positive feedback is just like the icing on the cake. And then for them to actually meet the people in person, obviously a little bit nerve-wracking, but they loved it.
In the men's group's first video to Kids Kabin, Michelle explained that their shed was getting a bit messy and that the group would love a place to store their tools so that they were easily visible and accessible. Aged 14 at the start of the project, Lucky came up with an elegant design solution for the group, a set of shelves set along the back wall of the shed, with a front panel which could be used as a shadow board to display the men's tools. After being at Kids Kabin for 8 years, this would also be Lucky's final project with the group. Lucky got to work straight away on a quick cardboard model to send to the men's group, who discussed his prototype around the table, offering initial proportions so that it would work well in their shed. In response to the men's comments, Lucky made 2 more prototypes in card, with different design options for them to choose between before he started work on a rough 1-to-1 prototype to send to the shed. Working with scrap material, Lucky laid his design out full size in Cowgate, seeing it come to life for the first time. Again, this prototype was sent to the lads at Beamish for another round of feedback and to check everything would fit properly. Both men's groups were really impressed with Lucky's work and fed back on this final prototype, suggesting the addition of some legs and some reinforced battens for hanging heavier tools. Back at Cowgate, Lucky got to work designing the joinery for the legs alongside Rickard. After exploring a few options, he settled on half-lap joins and made test pieces out of pine. Lucky worked carefully and precisely to get the legs fitted, and we got to see his design at its full height for the first time. After prototyping, Lucky started working on his final piece, made from birch plywood, with contrasting Iroko legs. Lucky laid out the whole design by hand, making sure every detail was perfect. We designed Lucky's planned leg construction together on the computer so that we would have drawings to follow. Lucky decided to add more braces to the legs to make them stronger. We worked together amid the action of Cowgate to get the leg joinery carefully finished and fitted. Lucky plugged every screw hole with Iroko to match the shelves' legs before putting the final touches on the piece. The men's group was so impressed with all the work Lucky had done, which they'd seen each week in video updates, that they decided to name the shelves in Lucky's honour and engrave a brass plaque as a surprise for him on the day of Kids Kabin's visit to Beamish. The men's group named them Our Lucky Shelves. All the men were keen to meet Lucky on the day, and the piece he made was in pride of place in the men's shed. William had made a jig for Lucky at home, so that Lucky could make steel pegs which would fit into the pegboard. William and Lucky spent 10 minutes together in the shed while he showed him how it worked, and they built some pegs together.
It's been great to watch Lucky being part of Kids Kabin and watching him grow as a person, and this was a really lovely conclusion to his involvement with Kids Kabin, because he went from, when he first came to Kids Kabin, he was incredibly unconfident practically with stuff. He was a lovely kid, and he loved woodwork, but he wasn't confident with it at all. And as his skills grew and his confidence grew, and I think he gave some really interesting feedback just when he was beginning to feel confident to do so, and his whole relationship with the project and with woodwork and with making stuff has been great.
and I think they'd all made the time to talk to him. They wanted to introduce themselves and to personally say what a great job he'd done on the shelves, and amazing to have that much kind of drive and empathy, really. Oh, the men absolutely love it, and I love that it's the first thing you see when you walk in the shed as well.
In a video message to Kids Kabin, John, one of the Beamish volunteers, had requested somewhere to sit after a hard day's work in the garden. Will thought that this would be a great project for lots of kids to work on together, as much or as little as they liked. So we decided to make a garden bench covered in carvings by the children, a bit like the kids' graffitied workbench in Cowgate. We planned to work on the top slat of the bench all together to teach the kids how to use carving chisels. The men's group thought this would be a nice place to include all the names of the men's group members over the years. We laid this design out together in Orchard Cottage and decided to leave a second slat empty so the list of names has room to accommodate their future members. At Cowgate, each kid firstly carved the name of one of the men before being given their own slat to work on. This resulted in a beautiful roll call of all the men's group members to inspire the kids' own designs. Each kid thought about their favourite things, as well as stuff they might have seen at Beamish before. Some kids chose to include elements suggested by the men's group themselves, like the group's gigantic teapot or the animals which live around Orchard Cottage. With 10 different kids designing slats for the bench, we had a full age range from Kids Kabin, from their youngest members up to teenagers. All the kids were excited about the prospect of the bench not only being used, but being kept in a museum so they can visit it whenever they want in years to come. Ava also decided she'd like to build her own mallet, despite having never used a saw before. When the time came to Ava to use her mallet to carve her piece for the bench, she chose to include the words "Be happy and smile" and "Never give up." Seeing everybody's names, the kids and the men, together in one place was a lovely way to mark such a special project together, and has finally given John somewhere to sit after a long day's work in the garden.
I think it was quite hard for the younger kids to conceptualise the creative idea that we came up with, this idea of reciprocal making. As soon as we gave them something very clear creatively to do, which was to express their thoughts about Beamish on a piece of wood, they loved it, and it fitted quite well, didn't it? It's also become an object with a lot of meaning.
Every time I sit on it, I'm noticing different things.
Yeah.
And I love whoever put the never give up thing. That's brilliant. Brilliant message for whoever you are, I think. It's such a simple thing, but the effects of this, the impact of this bench, like, you are part of the men's group. You will always be part of the men's group. And thank you for being part of the men's group. And so it's the men's group bench, and whether you're here or not, you're on the bench. They've all played a part in the men's group and Orchard Cottage story. So in the meantime, since your project's finished, another chap has passed away. He wasn't well enough to be part of Dovetails, but he'd been coming to the men's group since 2014, so he's like a founder member. And it was lovely. His family, they'd heard about the bench. His daughter and his grandchildren came. They wanted to see where their dad and their granddad used to come. And then John said it'd be an honour to take you to the bench. And he said they just, they found his name. They were just kind of touching his name, and then they all kind of just sat. And it was lovely. And it's a lovely place for the men's group now to come and sit. So if you were a visitor, you just think, oh, there's a garden bench, which it maybe is to the naked eye, but when you know the story behind it and all the thought and the effort and the beautiful story behind it, it's so much more. It's just for the people that know about it. It's like a secret bench.
I like it.